This is KGW News at noon.
Now this weekend's our anniversary. So, Lisa, we're home.
A man from Sandy spent 299 days in the hospital with COVID, but now he is finally back home. Welcome to the News at Noon. I'm Drew Carney, and this is our top story this afternoon. Alejandro Castro and his 3 children all got COVID last Thanksgiving. His kids got better, but he did not. In fact, his health went downhill fast. These pictures we're showing you came from his family and from Providence Portland Medical Center, where doctors and nurses literally saved his life. He spent 108 days on what's basically an artificial lung, and even after that, it still took months for his body to recover. His doctor says it was inspiring to see Castro finally well enough to leave.
It was an amazing feeling. I think we see with any of our patients when, again, as I said, you develop this relationship because you're there day after day. But to see someone after 10 months, to see him finally be able to get to his goal, which was to get home and get there with his family and his kids, was a pretty amazing feeling.
So after about 10 months in the hospital, Castro went home last Thursday. His doctor says the damage done by COVID will likely be with him for the rest of his life, but his medical bills won't be. Providence says whatever insurance doesn't cover, they will. Meanwhile, this was the scene just a few weeks ago when workers rallied outside the Kaiser building in Northeast Portland. The update to this story this afternoon is that Kaiser Permanente healthcare workers have now voted overwhelmingly to authorize a strike. About 96% of their nearly 3,400 nurses and health professionals voted in favor of the strike. They say they want changes in staffing levels, and they also want higher pay. If union members do call for a strike, they only need to give Kaiser management 10 days advance notice. Of course, we know COVID has overwhelmed the healthcare system at times, wearing out doctors and nurses. And back in the early days of the pandemic, you may remember, people were banging their pots and pans outside their homes to show appreciation for local healthcare workers. Well, now there's a nonprofit that's trying to keep that supportive spirit alive. KGW's Devin Haskins explains.
With a little color and a lot of love.
A heart and a circle and a smiley face.
These kids at Bridal Mile Elementary are creating art from the heart.
I'm making a drawing for the healthcare workers. I'm really adding some details and parts.
Dozens of these handmade cards will make their way to the exhausted healthcare workers still fighting COVID-19 on the front lines.
Why are doctors and nurses important?
Because they help other people.
Because they're risking their lives to save us.
The kids are making the cards as part of the Healthcare Heroes Project, started by Positive Charge PDX. The all-volunteer run nonprofit was started 5 years ago as a way to bring positivity to our world.
Our take was we could provide opportunities for the public to actually have positive experiences in an intentional way to counteract all of the negativity that was out in the world.
2 weeks ago, they turned their focus to saying thank you to the healthcare workers.
The healthcare workers are, in a lot of ways, getting to the point where they just are running out of energy, and we need to boost them in some way.
5th grader Eleanor Platt has seen the impact firsthand. Her stepmom is an ER nurse.
She seems more tired, and it seems like not very fun to have to do all of this.
And from the young to the young at heart, people of all ages are volunteering their time to help say thank you. These ladies are sewing rice-filled neck wraps that will eventually be added to gift bags.
We have soaps and lotions and bath salts.
Positive Charge PDX has delivered more than 100 gift bags filled with everything to help remind healthcare workers they haven't been forgotten.
It's really all about love. It's about showing love.
The Healthcare Heroes Project will continue until November 5th. To learn more about how you can help, just head to their website, positivechargepdx.org. In Southwest Portland, I'm Devin Haskins, KGW News.
All right, our next stop this afternoon is Portland's Old Town, because people there say they need help from the city, like right now, to deal with the crime and other safety issues in that neighborhood. 4 cultural organizations based in Old Town sent a letter to city leaders asking them for a meeting. They want the meeting to happen by the end of next week, and they want to talk about specific ways that leaders will support Old Town. The groups say that crime and vandalism are both huge issues right now. So this is part of their letter where it says, we need to hear the city's plan for adding police and combating rising crime. And we need the county to step up and deploy mental health professionals in our neighborhood, which was recently described as an open-air psychiatric ward. Again, those are the words of the 4 groups involved in writing this letter. Last month, we talked to the director of the Lansu Chinese Garden, which is one of those groups. She says her staff and visitors have all seen and experienced violence.
I have had staff in their cars chased with people chasing after them with metal pipes. We had somebody die on the streets right next to Lansu. We have had gunshots. All of this is too much to ignore and not address. We will do what is necessary for us to keep our staff, our visitors, and our volunteers safe.
So we checked in with city leaders in response to that letter that was sent to them, and we actually heard back from Commissioner Mingus Mapp's office. He says he's working to set up a meeting with those Old Town groups this Thursday. City council members in Salem, meanwhile, are moving forward with a plan for a homeless village in the state capital. What we're going to show you here in just a moment is the property where the village is slated to sit. It's right along Wallace Road Northwest. So here is that property. It's next to apartments, and it's also less than a quarter mile from both a retirement community and a school. Salem City Council voted last month to study options for putting a homeless village there. They're looking at a village that would be big enough for 60 people. But the neighbors who live in that area, they've been letting the city know that they think this is a bad idea.
The other apartments next to us weren't notified. The school around us wasn't notified. Families around us weren't notified. And they're backtracking at this point now to cover their butts because they approved it without really getting the expectation of how everyone else feels.
I heard the comment from somebody that they thought because we're elderly that we would just take it and roll over and, just stay in our little complex. But it affects everybody.
Council members did acknowledge those concerns, some of those concerns you just heard right there. So they acknowledged the concerns at a meeting last night, but they also stressed the need to get more solutions in place to deal with Salem's homelessness. Salem city officials also said they're still studying that site, and if they ultimately decide that it's not feasible, they'll pull back. All right, one more story here before we get to Rod's forecast. Southwest Airlines has canceled almost a quarter of its flights out of PDX since this past Saturday. The airline has actually canceled thousands of flights nationwide since last weekend, hundreds as a matter of fact just yesterday. Southwest says the main reasons for the problems right now, staffing shortages and bad weather.